Hey guys, it's Sandy, and today I thought I would share a gift that I have made for my mail carrier. I'm really excited to give it to her. She is a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. Huge. I mean, ginormous. She has been making all kinds of really cool things out of fleece and other fabrics and stuff. She sews, and she's incredibly creative. She doesn't use any patterns. She makes her own up and makes some amazing scarves. She made me one, she made Sierra one. She has just done an amazing job. She made a purse for me out of a football, a football from the Super Bowl. I'm just really excited. So I have made her a bunch of things, one of which is tags that she can put on these things when she sells them to other people, because she sells these to her coworkers and that kind of thing. And I got, when I was at Impress, my local stamp store that I teach at, I have gotten these things, and I thought they would be really fun to use on a little gift pack of fun things for her. So it's a, I've used these are tattoo stamps, and they have two little ink pads that come with them. I actually got two blue ones. One is a light blue and a dark blue, but it's supposed to come with a blue and a green, it says. But I got two shades of blue, but these are tattoo inks. So they're inks that you stamp on your hand or wherever, and they've got these little labels that go on the stamps, but I've been using the stamps to make cards with because I thought that would be fun. And I can still use them for tattoos, but I've used them for some of these cards. And then this is a color box pad in the 2 team colors, which has been fun to play with. A giant 12 stamp for the 12th man here in Seattle, and I wish you could smell this thing. The wood is just kind of really burnt in, so it really smells amazing. I mean, when you're in the store and you see the display, you can immediately smell that burnt wood, kind of campfire-ish. And then I had 2 dies that I've already had for a while. One is their Seattle Skyline die. You pick it up here. Skyline die, and the Washington State die. So I've got both of these, and I'm going to show you the cards that I made. I'm not going to make any of them. I'm just going to show you, because what I did was make her 12 cards because of the 12th man thing. There is one of the first cards that I made, and it was really simple. I just took the 12 and I stamped it half on one color and half on the other, and I put glossy accents in the middle, so it's really super simple, and I just popped it on a layer of white. Really easy. Most of these cards are kind of unisex, because I figure she's going to give them to guys, if anything, so left them either unisex or pretty masculine, because she's not a girly girl. This one I did some distressing too, so I cut out the little Washington State, and I inked up both colors on the 12, and then I started airbrushing a little bit because it didn't stamp really well, so I figured I'll make it look like it's distressed. And then I started distressing this, and I created a mask out of the die and just did some airbrushing with that, and then just stamped the Go Hawks along the edge and used the ink pad to just ink along the edge. So added a bunch of crazy texture and things to that one. Then there's this one that was kind of a failed experiment at first. I took a piece of paper and I just put some texture paste on it, and I wanted to stamp into it, and I used Distress ink on the 12 and stamped into the wet paste, and it kind of mushed, but I set it aside, and once it dried I thought it was kind of cool actually. So I tore the edges and just glued it onto a card. And I thought that was just a crazy effect, and what the heck, right? Then we have one that focuses more on the green color, because Seahawks have the green and the blue and the white. And these two are actually slightly stamped in color because my stamp still had the blue and the green ink, and I put clear embossing powder on it. So when I used my Versamark, I picked up just a slight haze of color, which came out actually really cool. And then I embossed the Go Hawks in clear on the same green paper as the card base. That was kind of fun. Then I got out some watercolor paper, and I stamped the 12 a bunch of times and the Go Hawks, and I threw some extra ink, and then I just spritzed it with water and then let it dry, and it just kind of mushed together and did some kind of funky things. So I put it on some blue cardstock. That was fun to do. Then I have a bunch of these envelopes. Somebody gave me long, skinny envelopes, and Impress is known for doing funky size cards as well, so I thought, well, what the heck, I'm going to do some funky size cards. And I used the Cityscape die, of course. This one is the negative, and this one is the positive, so they're both from the same piece. And I airbrushed this one and then glued it onto white cardstock and airbrushed the halo behind it. And this one, I just airbrushed this bottom part. And the cool thing about airbrushing on a card base like this is that it doesn't go through. So the inside is nice and white. If I had colored that with this marker, it would have gone all the way through. So this was kind of fun. And then I had a little piece of that green paper, a little scrap, and I made a sun out of that one. I might make a little sun for this one too. Kind of looks like it could use a little something there. So these go in long, skinny envelopes. And then there's this one that went a little ink happy. It was kind of fun. I took a memory box stencil and I had first inked up the paper a whole bunch, and it was much bigger than this. I trimmed down to get the size that I wanted. And I started stamping some of the things in the background and had all the blue and green ink, and then I took a finger dauber, a little finger dauber like this, on navy ink, and I went through a memory box stencil and just stenciled randomly the stars in different places. So that came out kind of cool, and I decided not to add anything else on the front of it because it was just kind of this funky, dark, cool, I don't know. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I liked the process of it. And here's another small card. This is a little mini one. And what I did was stamp the 1 and the 2 in green, and then the flip-flop colors. I don't know if you can see, I trimmed out one set, the reverse set of each one, and I trimmed out with a little bit of a line of the other color and popped it, so I have this kind of like triple popped thing. And then these are taking the green and blue ink pad and just swiping it across the paper, and then I trimmed it down. And I added some ribbon to it because there's nothing girly in any of these, and I gotta do something with a little something girly, so then I just adhered that on top, and that was kind of a fun little one. And next we have this guy, and I started trying to use up the scraps because I was playing with, you know, what do those textures look like if I just take the ink pad and stamp it straight onto a piece of cardstock. So I had these squares, and I just kind of started cutting them out and doing positive negatives with them. And this is from another totally different die that I have, but I added a bunch of stars to it just to make something a little bit different on that one. And then I've got this here little Go Hawks, and I used this Seattle Space Needle from their new Christmas stamp set and combined it with these, so it kind of goes behind and then on top of the circle, and I added some stars around it and the Washington die and stuff, so just kind of played around with some layering of all the different pieces, and there's some glossy accents on the Go Hawks, or on the, at least on the Go, so that's a little on the shiny side. And then card number 12. This one, I used a piece of mesh, like mesh that you can get at the hardware store, and I just pounced with my distress tool a little bit of distress ink through it, so I got this kind of cool background on it, and just did some stamping, and then this is inking the edge of the paper. To make the card base match the same blue, I took the blue ink and just wiped it along the outside edges before I put my layer on, and it matches just perfectly, and it's kind of distressed too, so it matches the sort of wonky stamping stuff I've got. So those are my 12 cards that I'm going to give to my mail carrier today. And I also wanted to show you a couple other things that are coming up at Impress, since I have hopefully my Impress people watching. There's a Copic for mixed media class coming up on the 22nd of October, and I wanted to show you what we're going to be making, or at least a version. This is not the right one. The real one is in the store, so you can go take a look at it. It's up on the shelf behind the counter, and it's a little book that we're going to have just as reminders of sample things that you can do with Copic markers to create stuff that looks like mixed media backgrounds, but it's not, and just the way that we're going to be applying the marker and reinkers and colorless blender is going to do some really fun things. Now, if you're not a mixed media artist, don't worry, because you don't have to be a mixed media artist to do this. This is just going to be something fun and crazy to get our minds thinking in different ways. I've seen people use this technique. I've taught this class on the East Coast before, and I saw people use this technique on cards in a bunch of different ways. So I want to encourage you that this is not just for those people who do mixed media stuff, but it's fun if you do both, especially because you'll have some techniques that you can put in your pocket for either one, and you'll make this cute little book to have as a reference. The other class coming up on October 30th is going to be my Copic skin tone class, and this is my working sample. I haven't decided exactly what images and stuff. But what we're going to do is have a bunch of images that you can color, and we're going to focus on just the skin. You can fill in the other colors on everything when you get home, but I'm going to give you a list of skin tone combinations that you can try, and then you're going to pick which ones you want to try on each one of these images. So I'm going to have a list at the store of the colors, and then I'm going to ask everybody to have a certain number of each of those colors for class, so that you can mix and match and make some of these combinations. Because if you don't have any of the colors, it's not going to help. And in my stash of markers for class, I don't really have a whole lot in terms of skin colors, so I need you guys to have them for that. And I think it'll be fun anyway, because you're going to want to go home and play with all those skin tone combinations. I forgot one other thing, and that is that I am going to be in Savage, Maryland for the week before Thanksgiving. So I'm going to go back and see my family, and I'm going to be teaching at Queen's Ink. We haven't decided exactly on the classes as of yet, but I am crossing my fingers that we're going to do the Copic skin class, and that we're also going to maybe do a watercolor class. So keep your eyes out on the Queen's Ink newsletter, and that will tell you what's coming up and when, as soon as we schedule dates. I'm hoping we'll schedule that this week. Talk to you guys later. Bye.